Seeing how humans are really social creatures, it's only natural that we want to be in groups with each other. As if you're in a group, you have a place in society. It makes you feel like you belong somewhere. Being in a group is very, very important to people. So that's why we've developed labels for ourselves. Labels basically say things about you. They describe one or another aspect of your life. So if you have many different labels of your life, it helps you to find a group that you can be with. All you have to do is look for people who have the same labels as you, and there you go, you have a group. From my perspective, there tend to be two different types of labels. There are descriptive labels and prescriptive labels. Descriptive labels just describe an aspect of your life. Like, you have this trait, well, you fit into this group. It has nothing to do with consent. It's not like you want to be in this group or you don't want to. You just fit in it by definition. The other is prescriptive labels, which means that they're given to you, whether it's you giving it to yourself, saying, I want to be a part of this group, or it's someone else giving it to you, like, we accept you into this group. It's given to you. I want to talk about that because I think that the way we view labels is very important about the way that we view socialization and getting along with each other. For one such example, I am an atheist. What does that mean? It means I lack a belief in any form of deity. I view it as a descriptive label because it describes one aspect of my life. Many people like to view it as a prescriptive label since there tend to be many connotations that come along with the label that aren't necessarily supposed to be there, but people view them, such as hating religious people. Now, I don't hate religious people. In fact, most of my friends are religious, and I would reject that idea. And many people who would fit this definition of atheist would also reject this idea. So you see many people rejecting the label as atheist, saying that they don't want it to apply to themselves, and they'll pick some sort of different label, whether it be agnostic, igneous, irreligious, skeptic, naturalist, or they might just say they have no label whatsoever. Although those might be correct labels to describe themselves, that doesn't necessarily mean that they replace atheist as a label. Another example of these labels is being part of a fan base. I'm going to use Varmint Coyote as an example. He's somebody on YouTube who I would recommend that you watch and check out. Maybe subscribe if you like his videos. Since I tend to view things from the perspective of using descriptive labels, I would say that he qualifies as both a furry and a brony. A furry is somebody who expresses interest in anthropomorphic animals, animals that exhibit human behaviors, such as being able to stand on their hind two legs or wear clothing. And a brony is an adult who has an interest in the show My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. He would fall into both of those descriptions, so I would say that he qualifies as both. Or he would say that he is not a brony since he doesn't like to identify with that fan base. However, he would say that he is a furry because he does like to identify with that fan base. In the end, I just view most labels as being descriptive. They describe an aspect of yourself. It doesn't matter whether you want to be considered a part of that group. If you meet the criterion, then you by default are. I think the reason why people reject this notion is because they feel like it means they have some sort of obligation to something. Like, since they fall into this group or that group, they have to be attached to it or associate people who would also fall into that group. This is due to our social mentality that tells us that we have to group ourselves with people similar to us and have some sort of loyalty to them. Like, you're a part of this group or that group, so be friends with them and listen to them. Even though you might not necessarily like other aspects of their personhood, you have this one thing in common, so that means you're part of a group. In my day-to-day life, I don't view labels as being very important. Just because I may fit one definition or another doesn't necessarily mean I'm obligated to behave in any certain way. Sure, those are accurate descriptions of me, and I'm not going to reject the fact that they are accurate descriptions of me, but that doesn't necessarily say anything about me. It doesn't mean that I have to act one way or another. I also reject the notion that you're expected to behave in a certain way just because you fall into a category, like you're supposed to interact with certain people and not others. Because in my life, I can be friends with pretty much anybody, or pretty much anybody who will have me. Even though labels are supposed to help us in socialization, I often view them as being negative. They severely limit the number of people that you can associate with. So in my life, I tend to reject them. I'm just a person, and you're just a person. If we can talk, then maybe we can be friends. It sounds good. I don't need to know too much about your background, what you believe in, what you think about, what your diet is, what fandoms you're a part of. I don't really care. Just as long as you're a cool person and I can talk with you. You don't have to fit in the same categories I do, just as long as we can relate. So that's why I don't view labels as being that important.